Hello and welcome to this crochet tutorial where I will show you how to make this handbag. The handbag has optional where I rolled the handles together so that it has a nice grip. We have the moss stitch here in the middle, and we have some blocks that we've done here on the bottom. The bottom of the bag is done with 2 layers or 2 strands crocheted together for a nice thick firm bottom. So come join me as we make this crocheted bag together. Let's get started. The materials and the tools that we're going to be using: first, I have a 5.00 millimeter crochet hook, pair of scissors, large eye tapestry needle. I have Lion's brand Mandala Ombre, and the color of this is called Serene. And I'm also using a complementary color by Red Heart. This is the color of white. Both of them are the same acrylic, and they will work together. We will also be using stitch markers in the making of our handbag. The materials and the tools that we're going to be using: first, I have a 5.00 millimeter crochet hook, pair of scissors, large eye tapestry needle. I have Lion's brand Mandala Ombre, and the color of this is called Serene. And I'm also using a complementary color by Red Heart. This is the color of white. Both of them are the same acrylic, and they will work together. You'll notice that there's various shades in this ombre. I'm going to be starting with the light pink, and then I'll be working around to some of the other colors because we're going to make 6 blocks to begin our bag here. Okay, so I'm going to start off with white. So let's start off with a short tail, wrap it around our fingers, go under 1, pull up 1, and make a chain stitch. Okay, straighten out your tail, and take that first chain and tighten it onto that ring. Then chain 1. Into our ring, we're going to place 12 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Continue around until you have 12 half double crochets. After you have your 12, start to close your circle by pulling the short tail, but don't close it all the way. Leave a little gap so that we can slip stitch into the chain 1 so that we can close off this row. Okay, then completely pull the circle closed. Whoops. All right, like so. Chain 3. And in our first double crochet, you'll see where we slip stitched into that chain. So our first half double crochet is right here, the next one over. We're going to place 2 double crochets in that stitch. And chain 1. In our next stitch, we're going to do a 4 double crochet popcorn. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Lengthen your loop and take your hook out. Count back to your 4th one, and right in where that first one starts, insert your hook and pull up the loop. Tighten your loop down, not real tight, just as if you're regularly crocheting, and then pull it through that first one. Chain 1 to close, and here we have our first 4 double crochet popcorn. And the reason why I say 4 is because sometimes people use 3 or 5 or 6 or 7, so ours will be a 4 double crochet. Okay, so we chained 1 to close, so let's chain 2. This will be a corner. In our next stitch, we're going to do another 4 double crochet popcorn. Okay, and then chain 1 to close it. In our next stitch, 3 double crochet, chain 1. In our next stitch, I'm going to go stitch by stitch all the way around so that you get this row correct. So in our next stitch will be our 4 double crochet popcorn. Chain 1 to close, and then chain 2. This will be our next corner. So in our next stitch will be our 4 double crochet popcorn. Seems like my tail wants to follow me. Okay, one more. Chain 1 to close, and then on to our next stitch, 3 double crochet. Now if you get ahead of me because you already understand it, that's fine. I'm just thinking that because there's so many stitches in here, I didn't want somebody who's doing this to get lost. So let's chain 1, and then in our next stitch is the 4 double crochet popcorn. This row will be the only row that has all of these multiple stitches on. So everything will be okay. Okay, so after we've chained 1 to close, we're going to chain 2 and then do our 4 double crochet popcorn in the next. Now, if you think I'm going a little too fast for you, I encourage you to pause the video until you get caught up to where I'm at. I hope I'm not discouraging you. Okay. So you can see we have 3 sides already. Okay, so in our next one will be 3 double crochet, and then the chain 1, and we should have 2 stitches left, 1 and 2. Both of those are going to get popcorn with the corner chain in between. So here's 2, 3, and 4. Okay, 1 more popcorn. Now when you get to the end of this popcorn, just do the chain 1 to close it, and then I'm going to show you what's next, because we don't want to add extra stitches in here. Okay, so we got our chain 1 to close it. So we're going to come over here to the top of the chain 3 and slip stitch close. So this is what we have so far. All right, so I flipped my block over and I've threaded my needle and I pulled it tight. So let's go ahead and work in that tail. Normally I would have crocheted over it, but I was so excited to show you this new stitch, I forgot. So go through some of the stitches and then go over one and then go back. Okay, then go over one and go through some more. Okay, and that'll hold it in place, and then you can cut it off. All right, let's move on. We're going to add our mandala color. So have a short tail and bring it through the loop. Then take that loop and tighten it down. Chain 4. Skip this stitch right here and then only crochet over your mandala tail, not the white, because when the next row is going to be white, we want it to come up where we stopped and started at. So skip the first or the middle double crochet. In the next one, place a double crochet. For our popcorn, we're going to place a double crochet And we're going to insert the hook through the center, going over the tail as well, and completing a double crochet. In our chain 2 space right here, our corner, we're going to place 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. And if you need to slide your stitches over, do that. Okay, so now this is going to start this direction right here. So 1 double crochet goes into the center of that popcorn, and I'm still going over my tail. The next double crochet goes into the first of the 3, chain 1, skip the next stitch, and into the next one double crochet. Double crochet into the center of the popcorn, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in that same space. Okay, I think you got the pattern down, but let's go ahead and I'll go with you. 1 double crochet into the center of that popcorn, 1 double crochet into the first of the 3 in between the popcorns, chain 1, skip 1, and 1 into that last of the 3. 1 into the popcorn, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Okay, we have just that little bit left. I encourage you to do that on your own, and I'll meet you right here. All right, so how did you do? Our last one will be right here in that popcorn. The first chain 4 was right there above the first of the 3. Okay, so let's slip stitch into the 3rd chain, and then we're going to go ahead and cut our yarn. Okay, then pull up the white from behind. Remember, we didn't cut it. And then pull it through, and then take that chain and pull it tight. Chain 1. Now we're not going to go over the tail yet. We'll do that on our next set of stitches. But our first stitch is going to be a popcorn into the middle of the 3 that we skipped. So to do that, we're going to insert our hook and come up into that space so that the chain 1 is on the outside of the hook, and the hook comes up in between all of that stitching. So go ahead and fold that over and complete a 4 double crochet popcorn. Okay, and then chain 1 to close. So this very first double crochet, we're going to skip that chain from behind. We're going to do a single crochet. Now I'm going to pick up my tail as well. So we have 1 single crochet, onto the next, number 2, number 3, and number 4. The next space that we will go into is the chain 2 space, which is our corner. We're going to place 3 single crochet. Okay, so now we're ready to start down this row. If you've covered this opening right here, you need to slide your stitches back because this is where our first stitch is going to go. Now I'm still working over my tail. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 1 in each stitch, 3 and 4. You should be right here where the chain 1 space is at. So we're going to do our 4 double crochet popcorn. So yarn over, and remember we leave the chain 1 behind us. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Alright, and so on to our next stitch. Okay, 4 single crochets in the next 4 stitches, and then 3 in the corner. And we're going to continue this all the way around the block until we get to here, and I will show you how to finish that there. So here's 1, 2, and 3. Remember, you got to find that open one there. Okay, so go ahead and do that all the way around, and I'll meet you right here. Oops. Okay, so on this last set, we want to make sure that we get the 4 single crochets in, because if you don't, then when you join the blocks, you'll be off by a stitch. So here I have 1, 2, 3, and here's the chain that went up. So here's 4. Now to close it, I'm going to go into the back of that popcorn and slip stitch it closed. And that completes our block. Okay, so it looks a little distorted. Let's go ahead and straighten it out. Here we have a nice little block. I like it. All right, so what I would like for you to do is to make 5 more for a total of 6 of these blocks. You can use all the same color, or you can change your colors out, whichever you choose to do. Or if you just want to make it all of one color, the choice is yours. However you do it, it's going to look beautiful anyway. So go ahead and do the 5 more blocks, and I'll meet you in a few minutes after you've completed. So please pause. My battery died, so please pause your video. Remember to make the 5 extra blocks for a total of 6 blocks. Let's move on. So, through the power of the video, welcome to my 6 blocks. Before we start to join our blocks, I'm going to encourage you to take all your ends and weave them in. Some of these I have completed the magic circle, some of them I didn't. So please weave in all your ends, and then we can move on. So as you can see here, I have two separate piles. One is the pink color and one is the orange color. And I have all my ends woven in. So what we're going to do is we're going to join our blocks. They call this join the invisible join, but you can see a chain stitch on the top. So let's start with a loose slip knot on our hook. We want to place our yarn down the center. And I just realized how far I am, so let me stop the video and I'm going to bring it in close so that we can pick up the center of the 3 single crochets. All right, here we are up close. So I'm going to pick up, I'm right-handed, so I'm going to pick up the block on the right side, and we want to find that center single crochet. So here's the 1, here's the 2, and here's the 3. So we want to start with this center one. And I'm going to pick up the loop that's on the bottom, and I want my yarn to come up through the center. I'm going to find the same one on the other block. So here's the one, and here's the center one, and here's the other one. So I want to pick up the other, well, here we want to go down. Okay, and then with our yarn that's on the bottom, we're going to go through this loop, through that loop, and through all those loops. Okay, snug it up a little because we're just starting. Then we want to move on to the next loop. So we want to go down. Make sure your yarn is on the bottom and down. Okay, so here's the one we just did, so we want to do the next one. Okay, and then come on, let's go to the next one. You'll start to see the look here in just a second. Okay, let me show you what I have so far. Can you see the little bit of chain stitch? And that's what we're trying to get here. Okay, so you want to do that all the way down to the end of the row. Here we are right here in the center. We want to make sure that our 2 popcorns line up. So we got those 2. Okay, there's the chain. We want to skip that chain. Go to the next one. Skip the chain. Oops, kind of dropping my stitch here. There we go. Okay. So when we stop, we'll stop on that center single crochet. So here we got one more. Here's the first one of that corner, and here's the second one. Okay. I hope that showed up. I wasn't even paying attention in the camera. But this is what you can see the seam. Okay. We're going to do that to each one. So I'm going to put a pink one next to it. And then as I slide down, I'll put an orange. So that's what we're going to do. I feel so lucky. My footage is okay. I can find that it's all right. So after we finish this here, let's make ourselves a little tail, something long enough that we can weave in. There we go. So let's go ahead and do the same thing to the rest of the blocks, and we're going to join them into a tube so that it's around, all the way around. So go ahead and do that. Please pause your video and I'll see you when you're finished with that. So now that we have all of them out, what we're going to do is join them like this. So you do the same stitching here to complete, to make it into a tube. So I thought I'd show you how I do it still. It's the same process, just that it's not flat on the table. All right, so continue on down, and then we'll move on to our next step. So when we start our bottom, I'm going to use the white and the Mandala color. So I'm going to join these two together. Now if you choose to use two of the exact same color, that is of your choice. But this is how I'm going to start our next row for the bottom. So with a slip knot on our hook, let's start off with a chain of 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're going to skip this first chain, and in the second chain, half double crochet. We're going to half double crochet in each of the chains across. At the end of the row, let's chain 1 and turn our work. You should have 9 half double crochets on each of these rows we're going to do. We're going to create a rectangle base. Now please note that with the double yarn, it's not going to be the same stitch count as what's on the blocks. So when we put this up like this, you can see that it'll fit. Okay? So after you have your 9 on each row, chain 1 and turn. Continue, and in just a minute I'll tell you how many rows I completed to make my rectangle base. Please pause your video and start working on your 9 half double crochets with a chain 1 at the end of each row. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've cut my Mandala yarn and I'm going to use the white. So let's chain 1, bring the tail up In our first stitch, let's place 2 single crochets, single crochet across. Okay, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 2 in the last, 10, 11. Chain 1, and in that same space 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. Okay, so up here, this will divide this bottom piece in half. We want to have 13 stitches. So we have 2 already because the chain separates this row from this row. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We still have right to here to go. 11, 12, and 13. Okay, so that's halfway, and if you'll see, it'll meet the size of the block that we need. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing to this side. So we can put one more stitch right here in the center, count that as 1. We want to come across and have 2 in the last stitch so that we have 13. Chain 1, 2 in the first stitch, 11, chain 1, and do the same thing for the other side all the way around. And I'll meet you here where we will start a new row. All right, that was quite a journey because I had to make sure everything was even. So I got all the way down here to the end. I want to chain 1 and slip stitch into that chain. Okay, now here's going to be a fun part. We want to chain 1, and we want to back post single crochet in every stitch around. Okay, so back post all the way around. Do not include the chain 1. That was just there so it would go around the corner nicely. So do that all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end of the row. So here I am at the end of the row. I'm going to slip stitch this row closed, and then I'm going to cut my yarn and finish it off. Okay, so we have a nice little lip here. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to put a row of stitching around this edge of our blocks. So let's go ahead and I'm going to use white. Go ahead and place a slip knot on our hook, and let's get started on that. We're going to do a 1 row transition for this, so that way this row will attach easier to our bottom piece here. So I'm going to start a couple of stitches over from the join that we did. And I'm going to pick up 2 stitches, or both parts of the chain. I'm going to start with a standing single crochet. And then pick up the next one. Okay, here's our chain, our center chain. So we're going to go directly to the center of our join. Maybe a little tight. I'm going to do a single crochet there. Okay, this one we stretched here. That's part of our join, so we're going to skip over that. Now we have our tail, so I'm going to include it on the back. I'm going to go to the next stitch. And remember to control your tension as well. This will help close this area right here. Okay, so want to do the single crochet in each single crochet up to our popcorn. Okay, so this last single crochet is right here. Okay, the next one is part of the stitching, and the chain is the chain closer. We're going to skip all that, and we're going to go to the next single crochet. Let's see how that closes it all, and then we're going to continue across. Okay, now I can cut this one tail, so I'm just going to drop it. So here I am, the same place I started on the other side. So here's the single crochet, and here I am in the center of the join. And I'm going to carry this tail with me, and of course remember this one is part of the join, so we're going to skip that. Make sure we pick up the tail. Oops. And control your tension. Okay, see how we have a nice straight line here? So continue doing this all the way around. When you get to the end of the row, we're going to slip stitch into that first single crochet that we did. So go all the way around, and I'll meet you there. So after we slip stitch, I know I said we'll attach it to the base. Let's go ahead and cut this yarn here. And let's do the other side before we start to do that. So I went ahead and slip stitched it closed, cut the yarn. Let's go ahead and do the other side, and then we'll go ahead and attach it to our base. That'll make it a whole lot easier than having to add the first row here with it already attached. I've completed. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut all of my tails off, and then we'll get started on attaching the band to the bottom. So to join the bottom to the top, to the band here, you'll notice that we put in the 2 in the center. That's supposed to be for the lining up of the center of the blocks. So we want to take the right side where you can see that little chain stitch. You want it facing you, and you want the right side of the block facing it. So line up those 2 right there. You notice that it'll be right there on those 2 stitches. If you want, you can place a stitch marker to hold it in place. Then we're going to do a single crochet but we're going to be going backwards to what the stitching is. We're not doing a crab stitch or anything. We're going to stay with the single crochet, and we're going to just go around, and all you want to do is pick up the top of the back post single crochets. So here we've lined up, and I want to pick up right here. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go through the single crochet and the single crochet, and I'm going to create a single crochet. This will be on the inside, so it won't interfere with the chain stitch on the outside. And then we're just going to do stitch by stitch, making sure that when you get to the center, the invisible join, that it's right here where that chain one is that you can see, and that'll be right there. Okay, so we're going to go all the way around, okay, to here. The block will be the width of the corner, and so on around. So go ahead and do that. Take your time, it's not a rush. When you get to the end, we're going to slip stitch and then finish off this row. Alright, something I wanted to point out because I started to do it myself, especially at the corner. You'll notice that when you put one stitch right here, it's going to drag it to the other side of the chain. And what I accidentally did is I accidentally put my next stitch in the same chain. So be careful as you do that, especially going around the corner. Take note of where your last stitch went and make sure that you pick up to the next stitch, especially going around that corner. So that's my little tip to make sure that you get one stitch as you go around. Alright, so I'm coming up on my last few stitches here. See how I got 2 and 2. And I'm going to slip stitch into that first one here. Okay. And I'm going to leave a long enough tail so I can weave in my ends. And then when we're done, I got another end here. I'm going to sew this in later here. So when we're done, we'll take the bag and turn it right side out. And this is what we have. Has a nice, looks like it's been hand stitched, but it's actually that single crochet finished edge inside there. And you still have the chain stitch around the bottom, which gives it a nice finished look. Okay, let's move on, and we'll start our stitching up here on the top row of the band. Doesn't this look pretty so far? Okay, so using the Mandala yarn, I've placed a slip knot on my hook. I'm going to start here on the center, on the side panel, in the center of the block. So I'm going to start with a standing single crochet. I'm going to place one single crochet in each stitch around, and I'm also going to crochet over my tail as I go around this row. I'll meet you at the end of the row. All right, so at the end of the row, we're going to go ahead and slip stitch this row closed, and then chain 1, and in the same space, single crochet, chain 1, skip the next stitch, and single crochet. For those of you who are familiar with the moss stitch, that's what we're going to be doing now. So chain 1, skip the next stitch, single crochet. Okay, chain 1, skip the next stitch, single crochet, chain 1. All right, do that all the way around. When you get into the ending of this row, I'm going to show you how we're going to do what is called the spiral method, so that you don't stop and chain 1 and have this line here. We're just going to keep going around and around and around. So go all the way around, and when I meet you here, I'll show you how to finish and start that spiral. So here I am at the beginning of the moss stitch row. I'm going to go ahead and place a stitch marker in here to remind me that this is where I began this row. And I'm going to leave it in until we get the length of the bag that we need. Okay, so here you'll notice that I have a few stitches left, which will interfere with the single crochet as part of the next stitch. So let's go ahead and place a single crochet where you need to, unless your last single crochet was within the end where you could put your single crochet and chain. You want the chain to go over that the first single crochet of the moss stitch row. So here I've single crocheted in that last one, chain 1. I'm going to go over the single crochet, and into the chain 1 space I'm going to place my single crochet, chain 1, and in the next chain 1 space will go the single crochet. This is to me a very relaxing stitch, and I think you're going to find that it's going to be very fun to do. So you notice how we just single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, and it gives a nice pretty look as well. So I'm going to encourage you to make this bag as tall as you want, but if you wait a few seconds here, I'll tell you how many rows I did, thanks to the power of the video. I know this will take me a couple of hours to do, so I will tell you how many rows I've completed and how tall I went. We will still put a band on the top, so that way we can also put our strap and have a closure as well. So give me a few seconds and I'll tell you how many rows that I did, and then we'll move on to our next step. So here's what it looks like in the ombre. I did 25 rows of the moss stitch, and when I stop where I placed my stitch marker. That means that we have the 25 completed rows. So let's move on to our handles, and we're going to be using some more stitch markers. So let's finish this row. We have our last single crochet. We are not going to chain 1. We're going to slip stitch into the next stitch, and that'll make it so that our row will be straight around. Okay, then we're going to chain 1 and place a half double crochet into the next chain 1 space. Okay, this will get us started on the marking of our handle. Okay, let's go ahead and half double crochet into a single crochet space, half double crochet into the chain 1, half double crochet into the single crochet. Okay, we're going to do this just to get started and then stop. And you can see where the row change difference is. Okay, so let's go ahead and get out our stitch markers, and we're going to start doing a little bit of counting so that we can place our handles for both the front and back of our bag. Alright, so we're going to lay our bag in front of us with the two blocks right here in front. Bring it down. I'm going to take it out of the camera range. What I'd like for you to do is to kind of draw a line and go up from the center top of these popcorns. So come up and then go over a couple of stitches and place your stitch marker, and then go up and go over just a couple of stitches and place your other stitch marker. Okay, this spacing right here will be for our handle. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So if we flip it over, and here we have our fold right here on both of our popcorns. Okay, let me get out a couple more stitch markers here. So we're going to go up and then over. You're going to find that it's going to be in the same place on the other side. So I'm going to go up. Another thing too is you can make sure that you have your popcorn on top of each other in case it's not lined up. And then go ahead and place your stitch marker in. Stitch marker in. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and start working on our rows again. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and continue with our half double crochet. Up to the stitch marker. Once we get to that stitch marker, we're going to go ahead and add a chain stitch. The chain stitch will help determine what size handle that you would like to make. Excuse me. If you would like a long handle, then you would chain many chains. If you would like just a short handle, something that you can place over your wrist or your arm, then you would do a shorter amount. I'm going to go ahead and chain mine, and then I will tell you how many I chose for the chain that I'm planning on doing. So I'm going to go ahead and start chaining, and then I'm going to determine how long I wanted it, and then place my first half double crochet on the other side of the stitch marker, not in the space but on the other side of it. So go ahead and determine how long you would like yours, and I'll tell you how long I made mine in just a second. I chose a shorter length handle, something that will go over my arm as such. So the chain that I did was 35. I'm going to continue with the half double crochet all the way around until I get to the next stitch marker, where I will go ahead and chain 35 again, and then bring it to the other side of the stitch marker, and then do my half double crochets up to my chain 1, where I will slip stitch it closed. Go ahead and do however long you want your handles with the half double crochets, and I'll meet you there. So at the end of the row, I have slip stitched into the first half double crochet. I'm going to go ahead and chain 1. We're going to single crochet around the edge. So we're going to single crochet every stitch. We're going to single crochet over the chain and all the way around. When you get back here, you'll single crochet or slip stitch into the first single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet around again. We will do the single crochet row for a total of 5 rows. And this will be enough to make a nice little width for a handle and to add a nice little band here on the top. So go ahead and do that for a total of 5 rows, and I will meet you there. So after completing those 5 rows, that took a little time, didn't it? We're going to slip stitch into that first one and then pull it through and weave in your end. Okay, and I thought about on these straps here, I'm probably going to go ahead and fold mine over and stitch just a little whip stitch. I thought about doing that. I don't know. That's probably going to be a personal preference, but I thought with it being folded over, this would be a nice firm handle. Whatever you choose to do. Otherwise, we are done with our bag. I'm going to go ahead and do one handle to see if that's something that you might be interested in. And if it is, and it looks nice, we can go ahead and do for both. So I want to leave that option open for you. Okay, so let's get started on that. I'm going to go ahead and thread a needle and see how it works. So a lot of people like to take the ends and do this. You'll notice that the ends sometimes open up on you. So I'm going to show you how I thread a needle with yarn. Take it, bring it between your 4 fingers, bring the hook up or the needle up from behind and pinch it, and then take that folded yarn and work it through the eye of the needle. That makes it so it's a little bit more solid instead of the possibility of it slipping away. So I have here probably about 24 inches folded in half. And I'm going to go ahead and take my strap, my handle I should say. I'm going to fold it and see where it would lie best at the flat part. So I'm going to come just a little bit over here. And instead of picking up just that one loop, I'm going to go through the center. Well, we can go in between stitches. Because if you just pick up that one, it's going to cause it to stretch. And since I'm just trying it out here, I'm going to go ahead and place my ends into the center. So for the end here, we're going to go ahead and wrap around it twice. Okay, and then for each one, we're going to pick up the 2 and then go in between the stitching of the next. Remember, because I don't want to pick up just that one of the foundation. And this will give us a nice little whip stitch in between. You can see how it's starting to wrap already. And like I want to remind you, this part is purely optional. The choice is yours if you want to add this, but I'm just showing you how I would do it. And now that I start to look at it, I think this is probably a really good idea to make it so that you have a solid handle to grab onto. Okay, so we have a few more to do. And I hope that this making of this bag has been a fun journey for you. I know I enjoy working with these variegated yarns. I love the different colors. This one, the Lion brand Mandala Ombre, has a really nice texture to it. So if you choose to use this, I hope you enjoy it as well as I have. Okay, so we're almost there. We want to make it even for the look to be balanced. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count the stitches up to here and count it up to here to make sure I have the same amount. And then I'm going to take this and just go back in and go back a couple of times and kind of lock that stitch in. But otherwise, I think I like that handle looking like that. All right. So, let me finish this and I'll show you what it looks like completed. All right, so here we are with our finished bag. And I went ahead and did both the handles. I think they look really nice. Here's the sides. So I hope you enjoyed this crochet tutorial on how to make this fun summer bag with the little blocks in the bottom. Hope you come back. I have more crocheted videos and other things that I'd like to share with you. So till next time, bye-bye.